Hey everyone, welcome back to another episode of Real Talk with Rachel Autry, where I love helping you delight in life and find joy right where you are. And in today's episode, we have with us another guy. I mean, we have had like stacked guy episodes, so no pressure, Justin. But we had Pastor Levi Lesko on, and then we had Zach Mearcreebs from Asbury. And
nice.
Both of those episodes, people were like, I'm requesting more dudes. I'm like, I know.
Wow.
Like something impactful, I think, when you have just like a different kind of brain. Join you.
I love it. I'm glad to know that the men are bringing something to the world, though now I'm a little worried I'm going to get lost in the shuffle of those great guys. So we'll have to contribute.
That's what I'm saying. I'm like, do I tell him or do I not? No pressure. But
now we know.
A lot of fun.
It's out there now.
It's out there now. Yeah, there's no taking it back. But today we're talking all about, I'm going to just take my best guess. The cool thing about having previous guests on the show again is that I trust us. I'm like, we're going to go somewhere good. I just know it. So my best guess is that we'll probably talk about your new project. We'll talk about that. I need its own moment. But then also I'm thinking like siblings and just being a parent and like being okay with things happening that maybe don't meet the expectation of what the glamorous parenthood, cute things that I at least was sold pre-mother.
Everything I write, from nonfiction habits about technology or parenting to kids' books about flying desserts, are actually related. And the intersection here is the ordinary mess of parenting. So it cuts to the serious and the playful.
It's going to be so fun. So fun. So it's just two of us trying to figure out life right alongside our friends that are listening. And you do that so well. So y'all, please welcome to the show, my friend, Justin Whitmel Earley. Hey, I want to make this connection for people that are listening too. I think I mentioned your book for the first time on the podcast 3 years ago, and it was Habits of the Household. And so I just want to make that connection for our people that are listening. Like, if you don't have that book on your shelf or as a resource in your home, I need you to immediately add it to your cart. It is
thank you.
Changing. So good. Thomas and I reference it often.
And that's what we talked about last time.
And friendship.
Oh, we did both. Okay.
Because you made for people had just come out. Yeah. Okay. So then his next project, let's take him on the timeline. His next project was Made for People, and it's all about connection. And it's fascinating because I think that it did the best job within a community-driven themed book of connecting like science and actually how it's required for us to live well with like the frou-frou-ness of what I feel like sometimes community is preached from a pulpit, which is like, but then you'll feel good. And you're like, no, but actually it keeps you alive. So
both
that was an epic book too.
Yeah, no, I'm glad you remembered that because so my books were The Common Rule, which was like personal habits, Habits of the Household, which is kind of expanding that circle to family, and then expanding the circle to Made for People, which is the arts and habits of covenant friendship, as I call it. Mm-hmm. And now coming back to the mess of parenting and childhood with the big mess. There it is. It looks great in the color palette that you've got going on there. Wow.
I'll take it. I know, unintentional.
As if we planned that out. Wow.
I didn't plan it out. We barely plan anything out these days. It's just a big mess for us anyway. So I need you to know, when I was telling Maddox, my 4-year-old, that I needed to take his book to my office to have a conversation with my friend, he was like, but Mama, that is a kid's book. I was like, I know. He's like, you read grown-up books. I was like, I also read kids' books. And I'm talking to Mr. Justin who wrote it. And he was like, oh, okay. So that was my negotiation, was like, I'm talking to the guy.
Well, I'm just thrilled to hear that they liked it, because a big goal here was to write a kids' book that kids actually like.
Right.
They want to read again and again and again and again. So
I was
bed
at 6:45 a.m. this morning because he wanted us to read it again.
Are you serious? You're not kidding me?
No, I'm like, that's what I'm telling you for real. And I'm telling our friends too. This is probably like on repeat favorite book in our house. And I think it's just because it's silly.
Yes, it is silly.
And also we need a moment for the illustrations, because I think that has a lot to do with how fun it is the illustrations are a blast. Jana.
Jana Madia did amazing. Because you have, I mean, this is my first foray into a kid's book, but you've got an idea of what it should look like. And in my head, I wanted larger than life, like complicated pictures of big desserts with complicated setups of how Big Brother Mouse was making them,
Her friends that are looking
and then
and watching.
big explosions. And she not only did all that, but she also made the characters like really cute, and the illustrations just really like textured and attractive, especially in an age where you see a ton of digital books. Like this is like, sort of like hand-drawn watercolor look. It's really nice.
It didn't feel like animated. It kind of gave me like, I don't know, 90s kids books vibe. Like it was so nostalgic for me. I'm like, oh, we're back.
Well, a lot of it was I wanted to write something that along the lines of the books that I read that I loved growing up. Mm-hmm. And I do feel like she achieved that with the pictures a bit too, like something I would have liked to look at. So I'm glad you said the same thing. Yeah.
No, I'm telling you, I'm not, and this isn't just like flattery. I'm telling you, it's just the favorite right now for us. We typically have that. Like they'll have this just fascination with one book and we read it again and again and again and again.
Yeah. Yeah.
And again. And then there's a new book. So that's kind of how our house works anyways. But no, The Big Mess, which is all about brotherhood and being okay with things getting messy. And then at the end, Mouse embraces Moose, his brother's mess. And it's been so good. I always say like children's books are a lot of fun to read to my kids. And I'm so grateful to have kids because it gave me an excuse to read kids books. But when you can find like a really good kids book, it opens up this new section of your brain too, because it makes all these really sometimes complicated themes and ideas that we have tons of like 200-page books about.
Right.
Just so simplified and put in terms where my brain at the end of a day can be like, oh yeah, you're right. That's like what it's about.
Yes.
And just bravo.
Bravo to you. That's actually a great summary of what I was trying to do in the book. I mean, honestly,
tag team this thing.
Yeah, no, part of it was just delight. As a dad, one of my favorite things is to see my kids light up. And so whether it's like telling jokes or being like, what the heck, let's go out for dessert tonight, or saying like, here's a great kids book, I wanted to write something that kids like really did love, because that's just a joy, like period. It could just stop there, It doesn't, because this book is about reconciliation and trying to find delight in the messiness of family. And there's like an author's note in the back to help parents like think through that and talk about that. But both of them are like standalone, I think. So like you could read this to a little kid and just say, let's just have fun looking at pictures that explode. And the idea that your son would come to you at 6:45 in the morning and saying, read it again is like mission accomplished. Like that's wonderful.
Like who needs a bestseller?
Yeah. But on the other hand,
Rachel,
I think so much as a writer about how Jesus told stories to get us spiritually implicated in them and in life. And I think about this all the time. Like it perplexes me because it's not easy, but many, if not most, I haven't counted, many of his stories do not mention God at all until he says, now the kingdom of heaven is also, and so he's often telling stories about regular things in the world that provoke us and get our attention and make us think about what it means. And only then is he saying, now let me invite you into the deeper spiritual meaning here. And so I know a big part of my hope writing this was to do that, but it's a little funny because, publishers told me for a long time I wanted to write a kid's book. They're like, how about a book about, healthy spiritual habits for children? And I was like, I love writing about habits. I don't think they're going to like that book. So, I was like, no, I just want to write a fun story. But I do think it's maybe a bit jarring for my audience who's used to reading nonfiction Christian habit books from me to say like, here's just a rhyming kids book about desserts. But there's really quite a purpose there. It's of getting your kids into a story that they just love independently. And then equipping you as the parent to say, there actually is very profound meaning in very simple stories. And this is one. And the author note in the back tries to help you do that, practice walking through questions with your children. But I also think it's just an art, like you said, Rachel, is to realize that and note that is everywhere, not just in this book. I mean, there is profound spiritual meaning in all the ordinary places of life. And it's actually an art to try to see that and engage your kids in it
Mm-hmm.
And that's part of what I'm trying to help parents develop here, that capacity to see the extraordinary spiritual meaning in ordinary children's books.
Yeah. And I keep coming back to this. I think this is like a theme for our month as the Autries, is like, God is so kind to not make it complicated. Like, this is the most
I like
approachable,
that.
like he's like, you know what? I'll sprinkle some of my love in the weeds in the backyard y'all call flowers. I'll sprinkle some of my love in like bath time being messy, and you knowing that like your bathroom is technically waterproof, so you can chill out, Rachel. Like, everything is a moment if you let it be a moment. And he's so kind to like let it be ordinary. And it's not something that we have to wait for the breakthrough or the stained glass window or like the bigger spiritual moment. He's like, I'm just here if you want to meet me here.
Yes.
And that's why I think, oh yeah, like they didn't need a book about spiritual formation. They just needed a book about desserts, and God will do his work because it's not up to us. And a relief, like the greatest relief of all time, honestly. So
I love that. I really like how the word kindness is so appropriate there. I think when you realize as a parent that you don't have to leave the house, find the monastery, go on a 2-week retreat, or even spend an hour in the morning in silence to find God's presence. Like, he just is there in your difficult messiness of ordinary life.
Mm-hmm.
That is a sign of his kindness. Like, he doesn't wait for you to get to him. He's just there with you.
Yeah.
And I like how you put that. I like the kindness part of it, because it is true.
I'll take it.
Yeah.
It's like a hard fought truth, but you know what? I'll take it. And so one of my moments reading this book, I'm going to go there. Also, is it okay if I give people just like a spark notes of it? Urging them to buy the book, but let me tell you, I'm going to do all this.
I mean, it's not really a cliffhanger. It's more the fun of reading it. It's like, yeah, they can figure out what happens in it.
This is what had happened in the book, guys. Okay. There's a character named Mouse, and he's making all these like beautiful desserts with lots of thought, lots of care, like carefully building them, making them like extravagant. And then in the corner, literally, of the book is his brother Moose coming in on some kind of like chaotic adventure vehicle, airplane, like something, and just smashes it. Like, imagine.
It's a lot of little brother energy there. Just
little brother energy.
Just
and it
coming
happens
in.
The Magnetiles, the Legos, God forbid, Ollie comes around the corner and Maddox already starts like hovering over. Like, I know
it's just like, ooh, let me see that. Oh, crash. Oops.
Crash and burn. Yes. And he makes the mess. And so eventually it gets to the end where Mouse gets so frustrated, he sheds a tear and he cries a little bit, and he realizes, like, you know, if this is the way that it's going to be, this is the way Moose is. What would happen if I kind of just embraced him as being that kind of guy? Like, this is just him. And he says, if I want to build a dessert and Moose wants to smash it, let's build something that's smashable so that then everyone can win. And they do. And it blesses their neighborhood, because then there's like this banana split falling from the sky, and everyone gets to catch it into bowls and eat a little bit of it. And it's really sweet. Every little page, Maddox will find where Moose is. He's like, oh no, mama, there he is on the go-kart. And I'm like, there he is on the go-kart, buddy.
That's amazing.
But my, I guess, breakthrough was like, the book isn't about Moose making less mess. The book is about finding a way where Moose belongs.
Yes.
And finding a way where Mouse belongs too.
Yes.
And I'm like, man, there's a way that all of it can belong.
Yes.
And like, I can't fix it because it's uncomfortable to me, because that's just not gospel.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of times as a mom, I'm like, I'm going to fix it. Like, you be quiet. You stop banging your thing on the door.
Yes.
You stop splashing in the bathtub and making me have to clean more up. It's like, that's not gospel motherhood.
That's right. That's right.
So it hurt my feelings in a really sweet way.
No, that's good. I know it's joyful to hear you articulate so well the intention, because sometimes people take different things out of your writing. So you're like, oh, I didn't quite mean that, but here it's exactly that, and it is a tale of sibling reconciliation. But I'm really as much talking to the parents over the shoulders of the kids, right, and saying, isn't this us too? We often see our children as problems to fix. We have our idea. Mouse has his ideas of how his dessert should be and how grand they're going to be. But we have our ideas of how our kitchen should look and how our car should look and how our morning schedule is going to go. And as it turns out, these beautiful little image bearers called children mess it up constantly. And often we think, I got to fix that. I got to clean it up. Like it can't work the way it's supposed to work until I fix it all. But yeah, I kind of want to invite parents to be a little bit more like Mouse here and say, what if I just meet them in the mess and love them right where they are and realize that the mess isn't a barrier to relationship. It is the entry point to it, just as God didn't say, get it together and then come to me, but he came right into our mess and said, I'm going to become part of your mess. I'm actually going to suffer in your mess, and then we're going to redeem it together. And the ice cream blessing the neighborhood, make something made to be smashed, and they smash the dessert and it serves the whole neighborhood, is sacramental, because through our messy brokenness, actually, when you come into that, everybody is blessed. Now, themes for us to talk about. Kids mostly just see the flying desserts, but great, delight and meaning right next to each other. That's the world God made.
And when you can find a story, an analogy, a parable, like something that's just common language to be shared, then like the moment that Oliver does indeed smash the Legos, you can be like, oh, it's a lot like Moose and the desserts. And then engages.
Right,
I mean, it's relatable. He's like, oh, I did just finish reading a book about this.
Yeah.
Okay, I have to tell y'all something for those of you that are listening to me right now. This show literally would not be possible without sponsorships. And I know it's tempting to like scooch right past it and pretend that these don't exist, but consider this your intermission where you listen to it instead. You can stretch your legs, reheat your coffee, make some lunch, or hey, if you're feeling extra kind, you can leave a rating and a review or send this to a friend you know is going to love this episode and that it would bless, or share it on socials, lots of different options. But this kind of support really blesses me more than you know. So, without further ado, this episode is sponsored by Cozy Earth. When you think of mom, what characteristics come up? Is it strength, patience, love? Maybe it's resilience, care, or simply just showing up in big and small ways? Motherhood looks different for everyone. Some have moms who shaped them. Some are moms themselves, and some carry the love of motherhood in their hearts in so many different ways. So whether you're celebrating a mom, remembering one, longing to be one, or navigating motherhood in an unexpected way, moms deserve the best. And that's where Cozy Earth comes in. Their temperature regulating bedding and ultra soft pajamas create comfort that feels like home, because home feels like mom. I love and obsessed with the Cozy Earth bamboo pajamas. They're a dream. They're lightweight, breathable, and honestly, I've never felt anything softer. I have several different brands of like bigger brands pajamas, and Cozy Earth is the one that I reach for. It's like a hug that you didn't know you need. So to celebrate moms everywhere, use the code REALTALK for 40% off your order at CozyEarth.com. She deserves the best. So let's wrap her in something that feels like love, and you deserve the best too. So grab one for yourself. Now back to the show. And we need those parallels too. Like for me, like I can have a devotion in the morning and like read something and then be like, that's great. That's cute. And I tuck it in my back pocket and I walk throughout the day and God's like, application.
Yeah.
Application. And I don't see it until someone else is like, hey, that reminds me a lot of what we were reading in Bible study. I'm like, oh, true story. So I feel like this is also really helpful for you just to have like common language. I want to spend some time maybe for the parent that was listening, or the person that, let's say maybe they're like afraid to become parents because they hear this. They're like, oh, it's going to be messy and it's going to be complicated. And like, is it worth it? And also like, I think there's another side of this that also belongs, but it's a dance of like, but also God is a God of order, and he does care that there's discipline and doing things that we don't always feel like doing. So we're not saying,
two really good points there.
That like, this is just chaotic and messy and just embrace the applesauce in your carpet. Like it's a both and. I want to nod to that too.
Definitely.
For people that are like, scratching their heads a little bit here.
Well, I think on the first side of just like, is it worth it? And like, should I even have kids? And like, what is that? So, I think for me, I was talking to my friend, actually this was, we were talking about the book Made for People. We just did a short run Made for People podcast where me and my two closest friends, Steve and Matt, talk about friendship. And one of the things that we were talking about on that, and this is a profound moment. We happened to be recording, but my friend Matt was saying, he had this relationship with other people where they got into a fight and, they resolved it, but they were sort of like, well, I guess friendship can never be the same now. It's like, that was tough. That was awkward. And Matt was like, wait, no, now we can get to the good part because we just navigated conflict together. So like the best of relationship now awaits us. And I loved that sentiment. I think it's so deeply Christian, the idea that on the other side of our brokenness and our difficulty lies the best of relationship, and that you can't really get to that great stuff. Like the way up is the way down, so to speak, in Christian theology. And it's through atonement that we're saved. It's also through conflict that we find our greatest moments of reconciliation, because now we know each other in a deeper way, right? And so that paradigm, I think, so deeply applies to family life. And it's really helpful because most of the time we imagine our family life. If you haven't had kids yet, you're imagining what it's going to be like and how you're going to do everything different than your friends and your parents and how, and then life actually happens. Like raising small human beings actually happens. And you very quickly encounter the reality that this is going to be probably the most joyful and the most difficult thing that you've ever done. And I hope just to, be a small, part of the narrative that says, yeah, it is. And they both happen alongside each other. So it's certainly not the idea of being permissive. And actually the publisher's worried, they're like, is Moose just mean? Like, is he just breaking all the desserts? And I was like, no. Clearly we need to draw the pictures. So he's very accidental. Like he means well.
Clumsy, I think is what the book says. He's clumsy.
Yes. He's clumsy because you could draw a whole nother, book and story about learning to be more gentle with each other and learning to be more careful and all that stuff. But mostly what we're talking about is just that the good stuff of relationship lies on the other side of the mess. So don't try to fix it, enter into it. Now I'm actually forgetting, what was the second part of your question?
About how there's this weird dichotomy where it's like there is room for mess and reconciliation. And
the order.
There's also room for order and discipline and
yes.
giving a dang,
absolutely.
Trying.
You
just said that too.
Well, yeah, but actually honing in there for a second, when a corporate lawyer who writes a book on nonfiction Christian habits then decides to get into a kid's book, everything has meaning, right? So it's made a little much, but to me, I think about the artistry of God as creator all the time. It never, Genesis 1, probably my favorite chapter in the Bible. It's just thinking about God being the God of order who makes stuff and makes it beautiful and calls it good is so instructive to the whole world and what it means to live in creation. And I sort of thought about that when I was thinking about older brother Mouse, because we all have this impulse to make something great of the world, to make something beautiful. And it really, really is good. Like your hopes for your job or your hopes for your parenting or your hopes for the fancy meal you're going to cook tonight for friends, whatever it is. Those are great and wonderful godlike impulses. And it is difficult when they get all messed up and that, actual people interrupt. And the balance of that, the end of the book, Mouse realizes that his great realization was that his creations were best when shared with others. And it's this idea that actually to be the most like God, it's not just about making grand plans of the world. It's about doing those for other people, as in the best art, the best meals, the best work, the best parenting, the best everything will come when our grand plans for creating order are given in the service of other people. And that is just a capital G good. That's a capital, it's a beautiful thing. It's what we should be striving for. And so, of course, in our families, we're going to be practicing discipline, practicing trying to create something good. But I think the important thing there is that just like God would not have put us in Eden if he wanted to keep it pristine, if he was just a God of order. He's a God of loving relationship where the order is in service of relationship. So he takes the risk of letting it get messed up, which it does. And then he comes into it to fix it. And there's really that same movement here in a small kid's book, go into the mess in order to make the most beautiful creation possible. And so I just want to remind people that that's what God did for you, that he made things for you. So make sure that your creations are in service of other people.
That's so good. Yeah. No, I love that. And it can be both. Like there is order in the book too. It's like, yeah, Moose veers on the side of clumsy and messy, and then Mouse veers on the side of order and excellence.
Yeah.
And that's just like a little bit more of like their character. And so I feel like there's like a bend one way or another, I think, to a lot of us, just in uniquely how we've been made. And we all have something to offer each other as far as where those giftings come into play. So
I can't tell you how happy it makes me to have such a deep theological discussion about a kid's book.
This book.
This is like my dream. It's just what it's supposed to happen for the parents, at least, again,
like
for the kids. I read it to a kid last night and it was just like, "Ooh, show me that dessert again," or find roly poly. As you noted, there's one of the delights of life, I think, is to notice the hidden, right? And so one of the things we want to do, and this was actually my boy's idea, was to put a little bug roly poly on each page that you have to find, and to forecast Moose is coming to accidentally break the dessert. Where is he? Like in the picture. So I was reading it with a neighborhood friend last night who and he just delighted trying to find on each page the character that was hidden.
Yes. Oh, it's such a fun book, y'all. You have to get this, especially for summertime. Like things are already chaotic and messy in summer because we're all just trying to scramble. Is what it feels like sometimes, between like reintegration from vacation and childcare and all the things.
And the perfect time for an ice cream party.
Fun one. Yes. Okay. A non-theological question, but I think it's really fun. I want to talk shortly about birth order because I found it so funny and maybe even coincidental that my Maddox is like Mouse, the oldest, and then my Ollie is like Moose, the clumsy one. And so I'm like, was that by design? Was that just for funsies? You also have kids of your own. So like, tell me, birth order, is it for real?
It does. It really seems like the stereotypes are more true than not. Like I had somebody send me a video last night of their 3 boys reading the book. And in the video, she was like, "All right, oldest, which one are you?" He's like, "I'm definitely Mouse." And then she's like, "Who's Moose?" And he points to his middle, younger brother, who that middle child often has that sort of like wildness. And then, ours are like that. But I think what is more uniform than that is just the reality of any sibling welcoming a new sibling into the world. When you're older, the younger the younger kids want to see your stuff. They want to play with your stuff, and they inevitably mess up your stuff. And this is mostly what it's about here. But I do find that these age stereotypes are like really true. So like often true. Like our oldest kids are the ones that are like ordered creation, and our youngest ones are like, let's wreck the world and laugh doing it.
Yeah, I took our second, just on like a little date, just me and him. And he did something, and someone at the ice cream shop was like, "Second born?" I was like, "See, how do you know those things?"
Wow.
Like,
wow.
Isn't that great? I was like, this is science. There's some science to it. There's got to be. But yeah, I just thought it was funny. I was like, what are the odds they'd be so similar? And I see that in my friends' families too. So
it totally is. It totally is.
Ugh, crazy. Hey, a fun question, another fun one that we love to ask our friends that come and join us on the show. What is something you are loving these days that you have to share with our friends listening? I'm trying to remember what you shared the first time.
I don't know what I shared the first time, but like I literally just looked on my desk, and I am getting way too into coffee equipment. Like it might become a problem, but one of my clients actually made a new coffee thing. It's called the Flask. And I'm holding it up here because it's like a French press meets a Chemex. So I don't know if you use either of those. It has like the style of French press coffee because you steep it in this glass container and then like push it out. But it has the beautiful look of like a glass Chemex that sits on your table or counter.
Do you have a mug that you pour it into? Or
yeah. Oh yeah. You can't drink out of it. So then you that would be a lot. So it makes about 2 to 3 cups of coffee. Perfect. And so it's perfect for like a couple, or I make it here in the office for like whoever wants to have a cup. And it is truly bringing me inordinate delight. Because it's just like, for me, I don't know, part of it has just become a ritual in my day. I think like I said, I've gotten too into coffee because now I'm like, I don't like to buy it out unless it's really great. I like to make it in my house because I can make it really good, but it takes like 10 to 15 minutes. And I'm realizing it's a great morning break. Like after 2-3 hours of work here at the office to go make, and maybe I'm more like Mouse in this than I think, like go make a really excellent, pot of coffee. But I don't know, I'm loving it and it breaks up my work day and it's just really good. So it's called the Flask. You should go check it out.
Flask.
It's like a great gift too. If somebody likes coffee.
Father's Day is coming up. So if you have.
Oh my gosh. It would be such a good. If you have a husband who likes coffee.
Yeah.
Or a dad who likes coffee.
Yeah.
It would be a perfect gift for them. Yeah.
Okay. That is so good to know. I remember what you said last time. Last time we were talking about our mutual love for Joey, Odom, our box, putting our phones away. That's what we said.
That's amazing that you remember that. And I do still love that. I use my R box every night.
Well, it's funny. I literally take recommendation. That's a selfish question I ask at the end of the show. Like, because I think the people that come on are the coolest people in the world. So I'm like, what are you loving that I will not know about? I can add to my routine or stuff. And it's everything from like lip glosses to like coffee situations to self-help, like the RO box, putting your phone away. Yeah.
I'll add another one.
Yeah.
If anybody who's read my books or heard me talk knows I'm really big on the scripture before phone habit and other sort of like technological habits of hygiene. so that you're putting your devices away. The past couple of years, probably is true when we talked last, but I've gotten really into using Dwell, the Bible reading app. Yes. Have you ever heard of it or used it?
I love Dwell.
Yes. Okay. I love it.
It got me through COVID because I think that's when they were like starting up around that time.
I think that's right. And 2 reasons. One, it just really helps me in the habit of being in scripture every day and keeping my phone out of my morning. Because ironically, I just like leave my phone out of my morning until maybe on the car ride to work, I'll be like, hey Siri, open Dwell, and I'll like listen to the scriptures for a while. So it helps with that. But I think I'm just realizing listening to the Bible is a very different way of engaging with the scriptures than reading it. And both are very, very good. But for most of human history, people have done listening. Like for most of human history, people didn't have the written word. You would have been listening to it read or listening to it taught. This is how all Paul's letters would have been heard, read to a church. And so I'm realizing there's ways of engaging and understanding that I wasn't quite getting by like annotating and underlining as much as I love that. I feel like when I really want to dissect a passage, that's what I'm doing. But I've probably gone on too long about this. I've been loving Dwell for listening, and they just invited me to do like a series on scripture and habit for a week in August. So I'm going to be doing be reading the devotions. I think it's coming up in August. We haven't recorded them yet, but so I'm really big on that right now. I'm loving it.
I am obsessed. I think I'm allowed to say this. I used to have a Dwell code. So for our friends that are listening, if we can collect it all in time, you can find
it out there
wherever you're listening.
Figure out how to put it in the show notes. I'm sure I'll get there.
Put the team on that right now. Where's our code?
I think by the time my devotion comes out, I'll have a code too. So we can just compete. We'll
tag team it. Y'all just follow Justin online. Follow me if you're not already. And then be on the lookout for our Dwell codes. We'll post
there you go.
Amazing. Well, I'm so grateful to have you back on the show. The Big Mess is such a fun add to the last few days in our home. And so for our friends that are listening, buy this for whoever littles you have in your house. Maybe this is also really great for classrooms. So for our teacher friends listening,
I'm about to go and read it in classrooms.
I mean, if you're teaching a public school, I don't think it would be an issue because it doesn't scream faith unless you
I mean, literally it doesn't. No kids are going to read the author's note really. So the story by itself is appropriate for any school, any faith. But I am reading it in some schools in the coming weeks where we'll have like discussions afterwards too. So that's the great part. You can add the discussion or not. But Rachel, I don't think there's any bigger compliment to the 2 parts of hearing that your kids love it and hearing that you're theologically engaging with it. This has been a delight for me.
Win.
This is like the touchdown and the extra point. I'm so excited.
Yeah, no, I'm grateful. Thank you for doing this and providing resource and getting low for our kids. This is needed just as much as the 200-page books, which are also phenomenal that you write, but like this is really grand slam. So thank you. Thank you for doing that.
Thank you. I got another one of those 200-page books coming out this fall, so maybe we can come back and talk about that later.
Heck yeah. Sounds great.
Let's go. Thank you so much.
Thanks so much for listening to another episode with us. It would mean the most if you took 30 seconds and left us a 5-star review in whatever platform that you're listening in right now. It's one of the best and free ways that you can love on us. So don't forget that anything we mention in today's episode, from resources, products, and more, can all be found in our show notes at realtalkwithrachel.com. For more updates, behind the scenes, and fun chats, head over to Instagram and follow us at Real Talk Podcast.